I had a mentor tell me he took his fiance at the time on a hike and told her it was going to be like a 1 mile hike. It was going to be 30 or 40 minutes. It ended up being a 10-mile hike. It took like 5 hours. His potential spouse was super pretty and dressed up and all these things. And he wanted to see on a long hike, could she handle discomfort?
When we say the bar is in hell, we are not exaggerating. Hey guys, I'm Hannah Cox with BASEDPolitics, and welcome back to my show Histrionics, where every week I tackle women's issues from a centrist point of view. If you like this episode, don't forget to check out others in the series Histrionics here, like, comment, and subscribe. So last week, I talked about men's fear of rejection and how they can look for green flags in women that can help them better know when to approach them and who's actually available and interested. After reading through the comment section of that video, as well as others in this series, though, it became very apparent that I also need to spend some time giving women some tips on green flags to look for in men. Do I think there are more women with green flags out there than I do men? Yes, I do. And I want that to change. I want to see men get it together and progress. I want to see them become great partners. I want them to be amazing husbands and fathers. In fact, I started this show in part because I want to foster a better conversation around gender relations in the US and because I want to help men do better as it relates to women. But do I also still believe that there are lots of green flag men out there? Yes, I absolutely do. As I've said over and over in the show, I feel so fortunate because I have been surrounded my entire life by absolute legends of men. My grandfathers, my uncles, my father, my brothers, my cousins. I have just grown up with a treasure trove of men around me. I've always said any woman who marries into my family is just hitting the jackpot because those guys are amazing. I've also had a number of very close male friendships that I have carried from high school or college to this day, and I adore those guys. And now I have an excellent husband as well as an excellent business partner. All male. So yes, I absolutely do think there are great men out there to be found. And I also will give the red pill manosphere a little credit here when they say that women are often not great at identifying who the good guys are. Really, for women, it is imperative that they learn to identify green flags in men early on and solely, and I do mean solely, only give attention to the men that have them. Because there is unfortunately no shortage of men out there who want to sleep with a woman, maybe want to be in a relationship with a woman, maybe even want to marry and procreate with a woman, but who hate women. I'm going to actually take you to one of the comments from my video last week to show you what this looks like in practice. This poor, sweet woman, Destiny, wrote on my page and said, unpopular opinion, people like Andrew Tate and those podcasts like Fresh and Fit and whatever podcast, or the podcasts of women doing interviews outside a college bar, etc., have given men a false impression of women. Men think all women are bad, or all women are cheaters, or gold diggers, etc. It's similar to extreme feminism that says all men are awful, but it's just reversed now. I'm someone who wants a more traditional role relationship. I want to be a stay-at-home wife and mother. I want kids. I write it all on my dating app. I'm upfront about it with what I want, but most of the DMs I get are, you're a fed. No way a woman under 25 wants to be a stay-at-home mom, wife, and stay at home with kids. It gets annoying to a point of now I have to prove this to you. These are the things I want in my life. It's just the weirdest situation because I don't want to have to convince men that I actually want to be a wife and mother. And they don't believe me anyway, so what's the point? I've only been in 2 serious relationships before and have barely any dating experience at all. I don't even know how to address these conversations. One guy asked me my body count, and he was like, when women say they've only been with 2 men, they're lying. It's so awkward. How do you respond to people saying you're lying when a man asks you what you want in your future and you're upfront about wanting a more traditional relationship and you're open about what you want and most of them respond with, nope, that's not true. She goes on to say, my dating profile talks about how I want marriage and children, and one guy legit didn't say anything to me. He just messaged me, so you want marriage, but will you sign a prenup? Dude didn't even say hi or anything, just immediately was like, will you sign a prenup? Honestly, this poor girl, that's crazy. These men hate women, period. As I told her in response to her comment, you need to immediately unmatch and keep it moving. Will you sign a prenup before you even had a conversation with her, questioning her body count? Any man ever... I've never had this happen. I dated up until I got married at age 36. I have had plenty of boyfriends. I've dated plenty of people. Not once in my life have I ever had a man ask me my body count. I don't even know how. I would just laugh. It would be hilarious to me. That is, your brain's broken. Something is deeply wrong with these men. This kind of behavior, these kinds of questions and comments, it should be an immediate shutdown. Immediate. And notice how it doesn't even matter that she's playing into what they say that they want, right? I think she genuinely wants those things, but she's saying, okay, I want to be traditional. I want to get married young. I want to have kids. I haven't had that much of a dating experience. And are they receptive to her still? No. They're calling her a liar and they're treating her like trash because it doesn't matter how many hoops you jump through for these men. They hate women. They're bitter about women. They're angry at women. Many women have tried this throughout history to like contort themselves and fit themselves in these boxes and like be everything that a man wants to be. And like that created this whole phenomenon I've addressed on the series called the pick me girl. And guess what? It doesn't work because they sense that you don't actually respect yourself. They sense that they can take advantage of you and walk all over you. And they do. And that's why you'll hear so many older women, including me, pushing back so hard on this absolute crap from these men because we want to protect these younger women from them. And there's a reason that they tend to target younger women. There's a reason that they hype this whole thing up and try to diminish women who are over 25. And it's because anybody with a fully functioning brain, which happens around the time you hit 25, and anybody that has even a little bit of life experience knows to avoid these losers like the plague. Their only hope is to keep trying to go younger and younger. And I already know in response to this, there's going to be like the knuckle draggers in the comments be like, your passport, bro. This is why you do passport, bro. I'm going to have a whole episode on passport bro weirdos in the coming weeks. I can't wait. I've been putting it off because it's going to be a monstrous episode. I've got such a mic to drop. I actually can't wait. I've just needed the time to compile all of my thoughts on these weirdos. But don't worry, it's coming. Too many women have had to learn the hard way throughout their 20s of interacting with these kinds of guys and wasting their time. And that's why we're actually trying to warn them and save them the heartbreak. Because contrary to popular red pill narratives, most women actually are trying to get married in their 20s. They're not just out here like gallivanting around. Instead, they're trying to date the men around them who are about their same age. And they're ending up with these kinds of people who waste their 20s, waste their time, have no ability to actually show up as a partner, certainly can't really offer them anything in the future, oftentimes don't even end up proposing. And then in the worst case scenarios, it does work out for them and they end up married to these listless man children, stuck, often with children that they have to then basically single parent themselves, while also taking care of their husband, who is a child. Like, I actually cannot think of a worse fate. So today, we're going to discuss what green flags look like in men. Maybe down the road, I'll do a whole episode on red flags. I haven't really fully gotten into that, but today, I honestly kind of needed a palate cleanse for humanity. The best way for males or females to truly vet somebody is to examine their past behavior. The best indication of what somebody will do in the future is what they have done in the past. And this is one reason why I personally think it's a very good idea to get married later in life. In your 20s, you are still very much figuring out who you are. Maybe that wasn't always true in previous generations, but it is now. Most people do not have a strong sense of self yet. They aren't even sure what career they're going to end up in. They don't know exactly where they're going to need to live. There's a lot to figure out in your 20s, and I think it absolutely makes sense to prioritize figuring that out before you get into a relationship. Because you need to be a whole person that can be confident of who you are and what you're bringing into the equation before you involve somebody else in your life. Marrying later in life gives you that advantage, gives them that advantage, and then also it gives you the ability to look at what they've done over the past couple of years, how they've moved through the world since they were on their own, and see what kind of person they're going to become. Thanks to online dating, a lot of us are coming at this from behind the eight ball. We just don't have as much information about people and their past as we used to would have. So the next best thing is to evaluate them over time. You need to watch people's actions and what they actually do, not what they tell you about themselves or what they say they will do. And this isn't even just true in dating. People really like to believe the best about themselves. People are, quite frankly, delulu about themselves. And this is why when people take personality tests or other sorts of measurements online, they often will have very skewed results because they answer as they wish they were, not as they are. And that's why many psychologists and other experts will tell you if you're going to take these kinds of tests, sit down and take them with your mom. Sit down and take them with your sister. Take them with somebody who really knows you and can call you out and help you answer more honestly. When you're dating somebody, especially early on, it's like they're taking a personality quiz. They are telling you the best things about themselves. It doesn't mean that they're accurate. It doesn't mean that they're honest. And it doesn't even mean that they are always self-aware of who they actually are as a person. I've said for some time, I kept this rule throughout my dating life that I would never date somebody for longer than 2 years without a proposal. And I also wouldn't have gotten married in under a year. I just think when you've been dating somebody for less than a year, you haven't fully had time to examine them in all seasons of life, and people can hide a lot of things for a long time. But I also think, especially once you are a grown adult into your late 20s and 30s, There's no excuse to not be able to figure out if you want to marry somebody after 2 years. And I am so against people getting their time wasted. I saw some of this actually discussed in the comment section of my last video as well, and it made me really sad. One person said, I would say to anyone to have standards. I tell people if people aren't willing to meet you in person regularly, move on. I wasted 5 years of my life pursuing a woman I only met in person 4 times. Like, people are out here getting catfish, completely drug along. I responded to him, I said, I'm so sorry, but this is good advice. I never spoke with someone for more than a day before the combo was moved to a formal date when I was online dating. I never hung out or went through a talking phase with somebody for more than 2 to 3 weeks at most. And I never dated anyone for over 2 years without a proposal. Another person weighed in and said, men have been doing this to women for centuries. I've wasted years with men who only wanted a texting buddy. Do the 6 months rule, and if it doesn't progress, then move on and no second chances. And I said, 6 months is a long time. I'm not giving you 6 months to text me. You gotta be crazy. Like, no, things should be progressing pretty quickly and at a normal pace if both parties are actually interested and share the same values. I understand not everybody wants to get married. I also understand people meet at different times in their lives. Like, if you were in high school or college, I'm not talking to you. But once you are out, once you are established, once you have a job, once you've figured out basically who you're going to be, where you're going to be, then once you approach dating, it should be for a relationship. And if it's not, then you need to be very, very upfront about that.
It was on my 4th date with a guy when he finally told me that he practices ethical non-monogamy. Ethical non-monogamy is basically when you have like one main partner, but you can have other like multiple partners, so you're poly. And my thing is, I don't know why he waited until the 4th date, because on our 2nd date is when he initially brought up like what I was looking for. And I told him, I was like, I'm looking for something serious. I want like a boyfriend who will turn into a husband. Like, I'm ready for something serious. And this man agreed. Not only did he agree, but he went on to be like, yeah, I've been a player for a little bit, but I'm finally ready to just like settle down. Like, I'm excited for this new phase in my life. Like, I think it's going to be good. I've had one serious relationship before. So we're sitting at dinner and he's telling me how he is E&M and about his main partner. And I'm just kind of sitting there like looking around as if I'm in the office, because I'm like, this has to be a joke. And then finally he's like, I know that was a lot, but I'm telling you this because I really, really like you and I really want to continue to get to know you. And I just want to make sure that I'm like managing your expectations. Mind you, we're at Cosme in the city, which is a really nice restaurant. So I'm like trying to keep it together, but I just said, I'm happy that you told me now. I wish you would have told me on our first date so I wouldn't have wasted my time, because obviously that's not what I want. And then I pulled up his Bumble profile because we met on Bumble. And I was like, you don't mention that you're into E&M at all. That's not listed on your profile. Like, why wouldn't it just be on your profile? And then he goes, oh, well, that's because I feel like people judge the E&M lifestyle before they get to know me. And so I'm hoping that if I just meet women and they see how things are going, that they'll change their mind. Anyway, I'm back to square one with dating in the city. So,
like, it is absolutely insane to me the number of women I see talking about being so upfront about their intentions, putting it right on their dating profile, and they still have men out here trying to waste their time. And that's for one reason. It is advantageous to them. It is not advantageous to them to tell you their intentions up front. They're trying to get you hooked and sucker you in. And that is why you need to learn to grill these people. And I do mean grill them on a first date. This is an interview. Too many people, and oh my gosh, myself included for so many years, see first dates as a way for them to be seen, them to be known. They're very concerned with like putting it all out there. And really what they're doing is giving malicious people all the tools that they need to manipulate you. If you go into a date and you're like, I want to get married, I want to have kids, this is my time frame, how easy is it for a man or a woman to then just mirror that back to you? Yeah, same as me. I want the same thing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how similar we are. No. You need to go in there guns a-blazing and get to know them. That is your job. Dating is a numbers game. You need to be able to move through the riffraff as swiftly as possible. Be a good swimmer. You do not need to get stuck fooling with people who have bad intentions, who don't know themselves, and who have nothing to offer you. I have to say, this was absolutely my mindset when I met my husband. I was done with the dating games. I had taken like 2 years off dating actually during COVID because I was moving around a lot. I realized I had some things I needed to work on. So by the time I started dating again, I had bought a house. I was in Atlanta. I'd started my own company. Like, I felt very ready. But I also was in a like take no prisoners mentality. And I was looking for green flags. I really did have my head on straight. And I think these were still the things that you should be looking for if I had to go back and do it all over again. He was very pursuant, very communicative from the get-go, very upfront and transparent and open, very emotionally available. We had an instant connection. We matched on value systems right out the gate. And I love that he was very upfront about who he was and who he wasn't. He was not trying to play games. And I even did a couple of little micro tests on the first date just to sort of evaluate. Now, I don't like these videos I see of men on TikTok talking about putting people through stress tests. There's this one awful video I saw of a man talking about tricking his now fiance, I guess, into a 7-mile hike without telling her to see if she complained. No.
I had a mentor tell me he took his fiance at the time on a hike and told her it was going to be a 1-mile hike. It was going to be 30 or 40 minutes. It ended up being a 10-mile hike. Took 5 hours. His potential spouse was super pretty and dressed up and all these things that he wanted to see on a long hike. Could she handle discomfort? Could she be okay? Is she going to complain the whole time? She's going to nag him, get mad at him, because they're lost on this hike and they're running out of water. And you're going to be married to somebody for your whole life. You're probably going to be in a stressful situation. You want to see how that person plays out. So that was kind of the idea that he gave me, and I loved it.
That's abusive. But little micro tests to see how people respond are a good idea. So one of my tests early on was I had named the restaurant. He had offered to come to me. We met up there. I'm a foodie, so I love trying really unique food. And I wanted somebody who was open-minded because I had dated a lot of guys who were very set in their ways, very their way or the highway, who just didn't have a lot of culture or taste, who weren't open-minded. They didn't want to try new things. And so as we sat down, I was like, can we get the beef tartare and the octopus? Because these are two foods that not many people eat day in, day out. There's a good chance not everybody has tried them. And if you haven't, they're foods that would maybe gross some people out if they weren't adventurous. And he was like, absolutely, no problem, sounds great. He dug right in. And I found out later on he'd never had either, and he was a little on the fence about it, but he wanted to put his best foot forward. He wanted to try things I liked, and that was a huge green flag. The other thing I was told, and I think this is excellent advice, probably for men as well as women, but certainly for women, is to push back on a man early on so that you can see his temperament. There is a certain kind of man that tends to be abusive, tends to be controlling, tends to lead with his ego that you want to avoid like the plague. And those kinds of men cannot stand to be corrected, cannot stand to be pushed back on. I had an ex like this who would literally get mad if I disagreed with him on the most mundane of things. One time he told me he thought Apple Watches were stupid. And I was like, I actually like my Apple Watch. My brother had bought it for me. And I was like, yeah, I never thought I'd like it, but turns out it's kind of great. And he literally got mad at me and wouldn't talk to me the rest of the dinner. Tiny, tiny men, fragile egos abound. So I applied this on our first date. I had met my husband on a dating app. It had said he was 6 foot tall. I'm 5'7" in heels. I'm usually 5'9", 5'10". So unlike most women, I actually can tell about how tall a man is. For the record, most women can't, and most women don't actually care. They just want a man who's taller than them when they're in heels. That's it. The taller girls are the ones who have to worry about that because when they're in heels, they're often taller than most men. So anyways, we get to the date and he's tall, but I'm like, I don't know if this man's 6 foot tall. So I asked him at one point, the date's going really well, but I was like, are you sure you're 6 foot tall? And he cracked up laughing. He was like, I think so. Am I not? I don't know. That's pretty sure that's what I am. And I was like, I don't think you're 6 foot tall. We laughed about it. The next day, he measured himself. He texted me. He's like, you'll never believe this. I'm 5'11". Hilarious. We still laugh about it to this day, but massive green flag because he was not in any way insecure. It didn't bother him at all. Even on a subject where a lot of men could be sensitive, he was so unbothered. Huge green flags. And the last green flag is that it was easy. It just fell into place so simply. I think on the second or third date, he was just like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not going to see other people. And I was like, me either. Why would I want to? This is great. We immediately just started moving forward. We were just head over heels, so quickly. I think I told him I loved him like a crazy person 3 weeks in, maybe. This is the way good relationships tend to unfold. Maybe not on that same timeline, but they're easy. I saw a TikTok of woman after woman after woman talking about this being the number one factor that let them know they'd met their husband.
This is a question for women that are in happy, healthy, stable relationships or marriages with men right now. Did you know right away that this was someone that you wanted to be with long term? Did it feel like a high? Was it more like a slow burn? Were you unsure for a long period of time? We talk a lot on this app about how men know right away if they want to date someone, but I'm really curious about women's perspective. especially in like the first 6 months of dating someone. This is actually so unbelievably true. The video I posted has about 10,000 comments at this point, and thank you to everyone who's weighing in. The comment section is so cute and wholesome, and just, it seems like some women knew right away. Some of them it was a slow burn, but a theme that is overwhelmingly apparent are people saying, it just felt easy, no games. I wasn't second guessing how he was feeling about me. Person that I am with now or that I am married to did not inspire anxiety in me during our dating phase, with a few exceptions of people that like already understand they have anxious attachment style. And it's made me reflect on my past relationships and the people that made me really anxious during our like talking phase or like early dating. And even if I went on to date those people for like even multiple years, they didn't end up being the person that I was with long term. And what I would take from this video is like really trust the men that you are seeing that make you feel safe and don't make you second guess. And it's not even if he wanted to, he would thing. It's just like prioritize the people that make you feel good and safe and are consistent and available. And that should be baseline. If you're dating someone that like makes you feel really anxious right now, deeply examine that. Sounds like he might not be the one.
If you go and read through the comment sections of her videos, it is just heartwarming. It's nice. And it's a reminder that love does not need to be hard. I am so against this idea of struggle love. I think, honestly, like a lot of movies and culture have given us the idea that it's somehow romantic. It's not. Good relationships are often not dramatic. 30, 40, 50 years, which you would hope to have with somebody that you marry, that's a long time. You can't live in a dramatic state that long. You would be exhausted. Now, for transparency's sake, because I think that that's always really important, and that's one reason I wanted to make this show, is to be more open with younger women about some of the things I've seen and experienced. My husband and I did not have an always easy path to get where we ended up. We unfortunately had to deal with some external drama that really hit us hard, and it actually gave me the opportunity to evaluate him and myself. And fortunately, what I came out of that experience with was more green flags. Do they stay when things get hard? Are they willing to work on themselves and on the relationship? Do they give you grace when you mess up? Do you approach conflict and hardships as a team, or do they turn you against one another? These are things that you really want to know before you sign a marriage contract. Conflict is not fun, but I actually think it's pretty essential because you are going to have hardships. Even if it doesn't come from within the relationship, things will happen externally that you have to deal with. So knowing how your partner deals with that is so important. And for the record, my husband and I have actually talked about bringing him on the show so that he can speak more to the men in my audience and his perspective on some of these things, which I think would be great. He's a little camera shy. So if you want to see him on the show, leave him a comment, let him know. I'm going to try to give him the confidence he needs to come on YouTube and like get into the mud with us, because I think it would be great. And I think having a male's perspective on some of this is so valuable. But that was my takeaway from what we went through. And at the end of the day, it made me very, very confident when we went to get married. Now, I think there are a number of green flags that at the very least people are aware that they should want in a partner. Maybe they're not prioritizing them like they should be. But traits like we see in the Big Five personality test, which would be openness, conscientiousness, agreeableness, extroversion, people know that these are pretty good green flags. And when they study relationships, what they find is that relationships where one or both of the partners have these kinds of traits, they tend to be better, healthier, and longer lasting. My personal list that I will add to, and again, I'm speaking to women in this episode, but I think a lot of this is also true for men as well, is are they dependable? Are they hardworking or driven? I think that is such an essential character trait. Are they kind? Are they giving? You do not want to be with a stingy, miserly person. Are they supportive? Do they have main character energy, or do they show up for you as well? And are they intelligent? I think these are the baseline must-haves. But what does that actually look like in practice? It seems a lot of people are having trouble identifying that in the wild, so we're going to look at some examples.
All right, I saw a video where two girls were doing things guys do that are attractive that they don't know are attractive, so we're gonna do it, but for girls, women.
Grown women.
Grown.
Not girls.
Okay. All right, my first one is when they wear like a little baseball cap when they're either like working out or you're like playing sports or they're hiking.
It's such a good one.
Yeah,
it's such a good one.
I think it's super hot.
All right, I'm starting off simple. When they call you by your first name or use like Mr. your last name. So like for me, Mr. Pilato or
Wait, it started with when they call you your name?
for
Like,
yeah,
when
like
they
if
use-
they're just like something Noah and use Noah at the end of it. You know,
like at the end of a sentence?
yeah, like something Jimmy
Okay,
or
that's all right. Yeah, I thought
I
you
just don't know
meant,
what
like,
it is. I think it's hot or like Mr. Pilato or Mr. something
thought
like
you
that.
meant when somebody was
Just knows
like,
my name.
Noah. Like, yeah, what's
I also don't hate that. That's just where I'm at in my life.
my next one is, this one's kind of weird, but like when they're just like a little like yapper, like when they can tell like a really good story or they're really funny and their stories are funny. Like if I'm on TikTok and I see a girl like tell a story on TikTok, immediately follow, immediately go to your Instagram, immediately see like what your deal is.
But just talks. And
yeah,
talks
like
and talks.
like just like sometimes it's
just
just it's like
dude.
what the are you
Yeah,
talking?
no,
But
I
it's
like
good.
that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit of a hot take, maybe.
But I
like when a girl just looks like disheveled almost.
No, I get that.
Just like wake up out of bed.
I
Like
get
there's a
it.
couple different things. Wake
No, I
up out
get
of
it.
bed and
I
like
get it.
morning face. Wake up
They look
and like
tired. I
they
want
look
you to look
tired.
tired,
Yeah,
yeah.
it looks
I-
adorable.
I-
Also, like
Yeah, I'm
if
there.
you're just out in public and you're just thrown
Messy
together
bun.
some random ass outfit, messy
Yeah.
bun, just look like it's like
Listen, man, heard.
heard.
I'm not gonna elaborate on this even a little bit. I'm just gonna say it, all right?
Oh God.
Just like when she's mean to me.
Oh no. I'm cutting it right now. So I'm gonna preface this with I only talk to women in different area codes than me.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of
I'm not agreeing. I
FaceTime.
know
No,
I'm not
listen. I
agreeing with
think you might agree with this. It's random, but I have a lot of like night FaceTime talks, whatever. When a woman drinks tea before they go to bed, and she's sitting there with her coffee cup, just sipping on her tea in her comfy clothes,
Interesting.
getting her sleepy tea, getting ready for bed. There's something about it that's so attractive to me.
I've never like even thought about that twice, but
Could you maybe see where I'm coming from? Not at all.
like a little Sherlock Holmes chick.
It's just cute. She's all cuddled up, getting ready for bed
I don't know that
with
I
her
feel
little
that
teacup.
way. This one's in right now. Like if you go to Whitlow's on a Saturday night, you see 50% of the chicks in there are
Whitlow's?
dressed like this.
Is
You're
it
gonna-
Peacoat?
No, slick back pony.
Oh my
and leather
God.
jacket.
Yes.
Yeah, the slick back pony is.
The
It
slick
does
back
not matter what you look like.
pony.
I am in. The slick back pony, you've got me. I am in. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit cliche, but when she's sitting in your passenger seat, like feet up on the dash.
Chill, you can turn me on.
Okay, anyway, feet up on the dash, like kind of cuddled up in the seat,
I know what you're
playing music that she thinks is good, but just isn't. You're just sitting there like, you're just my little
saying.
passenger
Little corny,
princess.
but a little corny, but
It's
I
a
feel
little
it.
cliche.
Little corny, but I feel it for
Alright.
sure. Not bad. All right, this one's like a little chicken and the egg situation, because it's like I don't know if it's they're hot and then they do this, or they do this and it makes them hotter, right?
Okay.
So like girls who just drive like a white painted car, like a white car, a white, yeah.
Okay.
Like all hot girls drive a white car.
Right.
And I don't know if it's because they're hot they pick a white car, or if the white car makes them hotter.
Okay.
Right?
I think the white car, even if they're hot, the white car makes them hotter.
Yeah.
If they're maybe not as attractive. And
All women are attractive. They're all hot.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I get that. All right. This one is when she has like unbelievable eye contact.
Hot.
When she just like, I don't even care if you're listening to me or not, but I want you to just like stare through
I like
me.
the eye contact more when they're speaking.
Okay.
You know?
What, like if you're speaking, you don't care?
No,
if they're
I
looking at you?
do still like it, but I like it more when they're speaking.
If they're talking to you and they're looking at you like,
Yeah.
you. This guy might have to, I'm gonna bite my tongue.
Just, you know, when they exist.
I'm cutting
When
it.
they exist.
No.
Yeah, when they exist. That's just
It definitely helps.
When I tell you these two guys broke the internet, me included, like these handsome, sweet boys actually like women. That is so refreshing. Women are starved for nice, sweet guys. And no, I don't mean the like nice guy archetype, because as many women have pointed out, the guys who run around me like, women never pick the nice guy, are usually not the nice guy. They're the guy that's like pretending to be nice to try to get her to like him, but they're not genuine, and women see through that. These boys are genuine. They're so sweet. I want you to look at some of the comments from their comment section. Like, women were bowled over by this. Jimmy and Noah, we need more of these. Women, not girls. Such a green flag. Protect these men at all cost. Man in the blue shirt is romantic. It's written all over him. So what you're saying is you actually do like women. Green flags are flying. I love this one. Who left the 2 golden retrievers in the car? Crack the windows. So many green flags in this video. It's crazy. Men talking about women in a nice way. I'm all for this. Do more. Like, I seriously want every man who watches the show to stop for just a second and think about how hard this video hit. It shouldn't be this rare to hear men state very simple things that they like about women, but it is. When we say the bar is in hell, we are not exaggerating. I think one thing women have to learn and get through their heads, I think this is very, very imperative, is that when a man likes you, you will know. It will not be confusing. There will not be ambiguity. There will not be games. You will know. I feel like I might hurt some feelings, and this might be a little harsh if it comes just from me. I know that sometimes my frankness like gets under people's skins. I'm gonna let a man say it for me, but listen, this is the truth. You will know.
Let me clarify for those that don't understand. If he says he wants to see you and says he'll let you know, not interested. If he likes your story and likes all your posts and sees your stuff but doesn't ask you to hang out, not interested. Not interested at all. If he's in a long-distance situationship with you and doesn't come to see you, not interested. If he takes you out and doesn't call you back within a week, not interested. If he FaceTimes you every night and calls you every night but doesn't see you, not interested. If he's always just a little too busy and doesn't have the time, not interested. He takes you out on a nice dinner and it takes him a week and said, hey, he's sorry, he's been busy, he just got back to, he ain't interested. Not interested, all right, girl? I'm gonna tell you right now, unless the only way he shows interest is, number one, if he asks you out. I don't care what remote thing he's doing. I don't care what kind of long distance situationship you're in. I don't give a goddamn shit about any of that. And number two, he commits to you. Those are the only 2 things. Like I've said in my last video, there's only 2 ways you're gonna know if he's interested. Is he asking you out, and is he committing to you? Doesn't matter. I don't care how many times he FaceTimes you. I don't care how many times he likes your story. I don't care about how much he says he likes your mom and he wants you to meet his family. I don't give a shit about any of it. Unless he asks you out.
I personally love that he included the Instagram story lurker in there, because this drives me nuts. If I could figure out a way to like make a whole histrionics episode about this, I would. I haven't been able to figure that out, so I'll just rant about it here. The number of women who think it means something when somebody looks at their Instagram story, the amount that they will analyze it and talk about it and return to it over and over and over. And it's not just like men that they were interested in, it's ex-friends, it's all kinds of people. Like for some reason, they think it means something. It doesn't mean anything. It means that they still follow you and they're scrolling their stories. Like, I don't even know whose stories I mostly watch when I'm watching Instagram story. I start with whoever's first or second, which are people I actually care about, like my sister. And then it keeps going. And I just watch a whole bunch of people's stories because you get sucked into a loop. Like, it doesn't mean anything, okay? If somebody ghosts you and then watches your story, it's not that deep. They don't like you and they just have not unfollowed you. That's all there is to it. Please stop.
For the people out there that sit around all day and complain about the person that they're with, can I understand why? Because I'm at work, like, and there's constantly guys that are like, oh, I got a work trip to go on. I can't wait to be away from the wife for a few days. Bleh. Or, then there's, people that are married that are like, oh, just wait till you get married. It gets worse from here. I'm getting married in November. Like, the woman that I'm getting married to is my best friend ever. I only want to hang out with her, like, most of the time. I mean, I have my homies for sure, but, like, if I could, like, any given day, I'm hanging out with my fiance. She's the coolest person ever. She's the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. I have no complaints about her whatsoever. Everything is Gucci. But I swear, like, some people just must not like the person that they're with. And, like, either you did not evaluate this enough before you decided to propose to this person or get married in general, whatever. But, like, if you're spending your entire day, like, sitting there, I can't wait to get away from her, or telling people like me who are about to get married, just wait till you get married. It gets worse from here. Like, no, dude, I don't see... you probably just don't invest anymore into your relationship, or you put things on a pedestal above your own spouse. That's your mistake. And I see that a lot. I just don't get it. I will never be that person that just sits there at work to the guys and it's like, oh, my wife does this, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're just cringe and you're annoying and not virtuous. Sorry. Ah!
Can you make any other content that's not dependent on you dating a black woman? No. Also, we're married, and if you've spent 5 seconds in the same room as that woman, that is all you would want to talk about too. Every moment I am away from her is like 1,000 Kid Rock concerts. My final breath will be her name.
Like, can we normalize liking your partners? This breaks my heart. It makes me so sad. I genuinely cannot fathom being married to somebody who spoke about me in the way that first video said that he hears from his colleagues. Like, that is awful. Stay single. Don't get married. If you're not crazy about somebody, if you don't think they're the best thing in the world, if you don't love hanging out with them, why would you get married? You're a user. You're a user and you're abusive and you're a bad person and you should feel bad. And you can tell whether or not men have green flag attitudes like these two men did long before you get married, right? It doesn't like flip a switch once you get married. This kind of behavior starts when you're dating. Does he want to spend time with you? That should be like the bare minimum. Does he speak highly of you and to you, right? How does he speak to you? What does he say about you? Does he build you up or does he tear you down? Is he still a little boy, like off all the time, having boys' nights and too busy for you? Leaving you to golf every weekend or go hunt? Playing video games in the evenings? Like, I understand there's a lot of women that put up with this kind of thing, but I think it's a huge red flag. I think it's indicative of a man-child. I'm not saying, like, there's nuance to this, right? Like, if you do some of these things occasionally, like, yeah, sure, have a great time. But that would be the equivalent of me getting married and be like, going to the club tonight. Like, that's weird. And I dated several men into like my late 20s and even early 30s who were like this. And I didn't really always recognize it for the absolute red flag that it was. If you are going to get married, and especially if you are going to have kids, you need to have an equal partner who is a full-fledged adult and who's fully participatory in your lives together. Another green flag behavior I think you should be looking for when you're dating somebody is whether or not they like you as you are. People don't change all that much. And so if you're dating someone and they're constantly critiquing you or telling you things that they wish were different about you or that they don't normally like, that's not good. A green flag would be somebody who likes you as you are. And again, who builds you up and supports you in where you're at in life. They should not be trying to change you or be overly critical of you. And this goes both ways too, because I've often seen women do this same thing where they are very critical of their spouses. They marry people that they want to change. They're nitpicky about them. You know who they are when you marry them. Like, I see an endless parade of women complaining online about their husbands that don't contribute and are like man children. It's like, okay, yeah, that sucks. But also, like, you should have known that before you married him and not had kids with him. I'm not saying there aren't people who get somewhat tricked into these situations or manipulated into them. But as a whole, if you're doing your job and evaluating for green flags, like, these are things you should be noticing long before you say I do.
When you are dating a man and he says anything to you along the lines of, I don't normally like when a girl does X, or I don't normally go for girls who do Y, that is your cue to run, okay? I was just seeing this guy. He wasn't horrible, but he just started making all these comments and kind of telling on himself. It started with, I don't normally go for girls who have short hair. You can't tell right now, but my hair is a bob, okay? We are bobbing through summer. And I'm just kind of like, okay, thanks, I guess, but you're beautiful. I don't normally like girls with short hair, but you're beautiful, and you pull it off. Thank you so much. Then he started getting more into like the personality realm, and he said to me, I don't normally go for women who like to talk as much as we do. What was that? He went on to elaborate and say, my past two girlfriends, they were on the quieter side, especially when we would get in arguments. Okay, I don't know what you want that takeaway to be. He's like, I don't know, you just, we both like have a lot to say. Then this was the real kicker, okay? This is when I knew that he was a goner. He looked me in my eyes and said to me, I don't normally like women who wear makeup. Now, if you've never seen any of my videos before, just take a quick jump over. I am a professional makeup artist. I have been for the past 10 years. I wear makeup pretty much every day. And my entire professional career has been in the beauty industry. So what an interesting thing to say to me, of all people. But you know, the way you do makeup is so subtle and you do it so beautifully. Let me stop you right there, because I will put on a full beat any day. And if I walk up to a date wearing a red lip, a dark lip, a full beat down contour moment, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna say to me? Are you gonna secretly think, I don't really like the way she looks right now? Because here's what you need to know about men, and here's why you need to leave them if they start saying these things. Men are delusional. They believe they can, should, and will find their dream girl. So when they're dating someone that they're like, I love all these things about her, but X, Y, and Z is not as I would perfectly imagine it to be, they're walking through the world secretly looking for that girl. And it might not be diabolical, but they're walking through life secretly or overtly searching for that girl. So you want the man that if he were to change anything about you, he still wouldn't. You don't want the guy that if he were to design, the perfect woman, he would change 2 to 4 things about you. Anyways, takeaways are, roster is down by 1, city girls are still up. Don't let men pull this shit, okay? You are probably many people's dream woman. And I think that honestly we should, as women, start to be that delusional, because where's my dream man?
I also think another green flag you should be looking for is whether or not somebody puts in effort in the relationship early on, and if they keep that level of effort going consistently throughout the dating period.
They say love is embarrassing, but it's actually embarrassing? The pursuit of love. And when I'm in pursuit of love, I'm chronically dedicated to the bit. If I start riffing with someone and we have a little inside joke, I lean way too far into it. And so I was talking to this one girl, and she was like, oh yeah, I work for a company that does divorce filing, whatever. And I was like, oh, first date idea, we get a divorce. Ha ha, so funny, right? And she laughed. And she was like, oh, bring your fanciest pen to sign the papers. And I was all like, oh, I see through your games. You just want to take my pen in the divorce, whatever, right? We're riffing, we're going back and forth. And then so she sends me a picture of her favorite pens. And she was like, for any future Valentine's Day gifts, right? And I was like, okay, Valentine's Day is 9 months away. This girl's in it for the long haul. This girl's actually interested enough to make it to Valentine's Day of next year for me to buy her these pens. So what did I do after talking to her for one single day? I bought these pens. And guess what? We never even went on the date. We never even went on the first date because she ghosted me. So now I'm stuck here with these pens that I don't even like. I'm a Pilot G2 pen kind of guy. And I'm stuck here with an 8-pack of Papermate Ink Joys. You know how much a pack of pens is these days in this economy? All just for a little first date bit. And now I'm stuck with these pens that I don't even want to use. And guess what? At Staples, I was like, I checked out and the girl was like, oh, do you want a receipt? And I was like, oh, no, that's okay. Because I thought I was going to go on this first date. So I've just had these pens for a month now. And I haven't heard from the person. So, that's cool.
Well, I love this absolute green flag. How cute is he? This is something you should want in a partner. This is the kind of person you should be looking for. That girl missed out. And I want to say to all the men that saw last week's episode talking about rejection, who weighed in the comments about their difficulty in facing it, I want you to note something here. He got rejected, okay? But he's not getting into his feelings about it. He's not having a wounded ego over it. He's simply talking about it in a funny way on the internet. And the response to him is overwhelming. Rejection looks great on him. The women are after him in his comments because he handled rejection in this way. And because, again, he's a whole green flag. One woman said, this kind of romantic gesture, sir, is top tier. She missed out. Another said, don't ever let them change you, Spencer. Another person said, this is the kind of effort. For first date, imagine an actual relationship with little heart eyes. Another said, when I say I want a lover boy, this is what I mean. Women do like genuinely nice men. And yes, there's some who don't appreciate it, as clearly the woman he was interacting with did not. that's an indication you're going after the wrong kinds of people too. You also need to be looking for green flag behavior. I think a lot of this comes down to the fact that too many people are simply trained to look for the wrong things. And I think this is true for both men and women, actually. Look at this post I saw from Reddit on Twitter the other day. The headline says, "Girl invited me over to help her weed her garden as a date?" ? Basically the title, "We matched on Tinder. She's extremely pretty and we have a lot in common and I'm really interested in her. She has some pictures of her gardening in her profile and I was asking her questions about that, so it didn't come out of nowhere. The conversation was going really well, so I asked if she wanted to get to know each other in person. She said yes and asked if I wanted to come over and help her weed her garden. I said, haha, as a first date? And she responded saying yes, it's a relaxing activity to talk and get to know someone. Plus she could really use some help with it since we've had a lot of rain lately. I honestly don't care what the first date is and don't mind weeding, would happily do whatever to get a chance to spend some time with her, but I'm wondering if it's a red flag that she's kind of asking me to help her with a chore as a first date." Sir, a chore? She's asking you to participate in an activity that she likes a lot. I actually think this is a huge green flag. She's not materialistic. She's not expecting a formal first date at a nice restaurant, which you guys complain ad nauseum about. The activity is something that would help you break the ice and actually do something together and get past like the typical small talk you'd have on a first date. I actually think this is green flags all the way around, except your reaction. Your reaction to me would be indicative of how you view participating in things that I like to do, and also probably your likelihood to help around the house. Similarly, I saw another video on Twitter over the past couple days talking about why women tend to break up with men over nothing, and I was pretty conflicted on it. So I'll roll the video for you first, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
If you're a boy who has ever been dumped by your girlfriend for seemingly no apparent reason, and you're looking for answers, this is what happened. Okay, this is you guys. You guys are in a happy relationship, and now all of a sudden you have one simple, fixable problem. For this example, we're going to use no good morning text. And your girlfriend who loves you, she's really happy with you. She comes to you and she tells you, she's like, "Hey, do you think we could start doing good morning texts? Like, it'd mean a lot to me if you text me good morning." So you, her loving boyfriend, agree to give her good morning texts. But something happened, and for whatever reason, you stopped giving her good morning texts. So now we have a bigger problem. She now thinks that you don't care enough about her to send her good morning texts, even though she asked. But she's going to be like, you know what, this is still kind of a small problem. I'm just going to remind him. She reminds you, you're like, oh my gosh, that's right. I did agree to that. Okay, I will text you good morning. Unfortunately, though, you didn't follow through again. Now we have confirmed that you do not care enough to text her good morning, even though this is a simple, fixable problem. This is now a big problem. So now your girlfriend, who has never picked fights before in her life, starts picking a bunch of little fights about all these different things because she believes that you do not care enough. Through all of these picking fights with you, though, she still loves you and likes you enough to want to be with you, even though you guys have all these little problems now. Until one day, these become unattractive to her. She's going to realize that all of these little things that you do that remind her that you don't care about her enough are unattractive. And so now the problem is not these things. It's not even that you don't care enough. It's not even that she never got good morning texts. It's that she literally does not like you anymore. Does not like you. Now, unfortunately, she has to break up with you. And then you're going to ask her why. And she's going to list out all of the reasons why she has to break up with you. And you are going to say, no, you should not break up with me because of those reasons, because from now on, I am going to do all of these things. And you will never have to worry about me never doing these things again because I'm going to do them every single day. But remember, it doesn't even matter if you were to do all of these things anymore, because the problem now is that she's unattracted to you and just simply does not like you anymore. And now she's going to go move on with her life, and you're going to go and tell your friends that you got dumped by absolutely no reason and that you guys all hate her and that she's crazy for dumping you over something so simple. When in reality, she never dumped you at all. This was a slow-moving process that eventually led to the final reason, and you weren't dumped. You probably actively chose not to give her what she said she needed, and now you guys aren't together anymore. Sorry.
As I said in response to this video, I was torn on it. On one hand, I think women tend to date based on what rom-coms tell them they should be looking for. And because of that, they look for a lot of like standard rituals to confirm that a man is actually into them. They tend to want these kinds of ritualistic behaviors over and over. They want them early on in the relationship. And if they don't get them, it creates an insecure attachment disorder. And they want that because they're told that that's what they should want. And they're also told that's what other women are getting. And so they're constantly comparing the affirmations that they get from their partner to other women around them, even if that's not always the reality of what's happening around them. I really do think ultimately many women are just in competition with other women to see who can have the best relationship. And so they prioritize romantic gestures or big displays because they can advertise those to other women around them instead of looking at the actual substance of a relationship, which really can best be gauged behind the scenes. And so you see kind of trivial things like whether or not he sends you a good morning text or whether or not he buys you some lavish Mother's Day gift becoming massive deals to these women. Now, I will say on the other hand, men tend to be pretty low effort in relationships. It's an area they really need to work on. Study after study is showing they are not bringing as much to the table as far as effort, as far as housework, as far as child rearing, as far as emotional labor in the relationship. So I'm not upset at women who get sick of this dusty behavior and move on. I think women should get sick of dusty behavior. It should turn you off. Men need to put forth effort. As I already said, that's a key green flag. But effort doesn't always have to look like grand gestures. I can tell you firsthand, my parents have been married for well over 40 years. My dad is incredible, but that's not the way he moves. That's not how he handles things. They go on nice trips that my mom plans. He gets her nice gifts that she nudges him and says that she wants. That doesn't mean he loves her any less. That's just not his love language. It's not the way he communicates his love. How he communicates it is in acts of service and his devotion to her. I actually have this photo I took of my parents years ago. I hope they're okay with me inserting it here. But this is a photo of my mom after she had a very serious back surgery. She had to have several things done to her neck and spine. It was a very risky surgery, and it was a huge recovery. And it was during a year where she'd had many health issues. She actually had like knee replacement surgery earlier that year. So he had been having to take a lot of care for her because they're empty nesters. We aren't around there. None of us live nearby. And I took this video without them knowing of him brushing and drying her hair after she showered. And I cried, like, that's love, right? That is romance. That is devotion. That is the kind of partner that you want. That's what actually matters at the end of the day. Not all of these other little ridiculous things that the culture tells you should care about that are often based on materialism and consumption. And oftentimes, too, when a man is giving you lavish gifts or trying to fly you out immediately, it's actually a huge red flag.
I never thought I was going to tell this story publicly because it's just like so much. But also it's so insane that I feel like I would be doing a public disservice not telling it. And also I learned so many valuable lessons from this. So I feel like it's also important to tell. But it's also insane. I'm at brunch with my friends and I get up to go to the bathroom, and on my way there, I run into this man, let's call him Jim, who's also on his way to the bathroom. This man is a little bit older than me, so he's in his early 30s, so handsome, so well dressed, just like very a put together person. You can tell he's like well off, wearing a really nice watch. And we start kind of chatting as we're walking to the bathroom. And this man had mad riz, like so charming, just like funny, amazing, like kind of one of those personalities where you're like, something has to be wrong with you. Spoiler, there was. Just because he just seems so perfect. And I literally went back to the table and was like, girls, I'm in love. I found my husband. I met my soulmate in line for the bathroom. And obviously I'd given him my number, and we planned a date, but after I met him, I was like, love at first sight, baby, it's real. So we start seeing each other, nothing like super, super serious. It's not like he's my boyfriend, but he travels a lot for work. So he would only be back in town every month and a half to 2 months when he would take me out on a date. And the dates he would take me out on were amazing. He would take me to the nicest restaurants. Like, we would just do the coolest things ever. And his dates were so thoughtful and so intentional. And I truly was like, this is my husband. Like, this is my husband. Like, I was head over heels for this man. But the only thing was I just, like, did not see him that often. He didn't have any social media, which makes sense. Like, he is in his early 30s, so I didn't think that was too weird. And every time this man would see me, he would give me a piece of jewelry, and not just like any jewelry. It was always so nice, and I always told him that he shouldn't do that. It like kind of made me uncomfortable just because it was so nice, like diamonds, gold, like very expensive things that I would never be able to just like buy for myself. But he would always be like, oh, when I was in XYZ city, I saw this and I just thought it would look beautiful on you and I had to get it for you. So I think I'm literally living in like a Hallmark movie. I'm living my dream life. This is amazing. We're planning our first trip together to go to the Bahamas. I'm like, this is incredible. He is going to stop traveling for work so much, and he's going to be here more full time, and then he's going to be my boyfriend, and we're going to get married, and everything's going to be perfect. Spoiler, that is not what happened at all. Honestly, like the only red flag I ever really got from him was that he didn't have a house in the city that I lived in. He just kind of had this apartment condo kind of thing. And it just didn't seem very homey to me. Like, I was just like, this is so weird that you, like, this is your main home. This is the main city you live in. And it just didn't seem homey at all. But I kind of brushed it off because he travels so much that I'm like, okay, I guess it makes sense that this place isn't homey because you're not here that much. And now to the day that my entire fantasy life crumbled. It's important to note that at this time, I was public on Instagram. I'm not anymore. But at this point, I was. And I was at a coffee shop doing some work and just like posted a photo of my coffee and tagged the coffee shop I was at. So as I'm sitting there working, a woman comes and sits down next to me and starts chatting with me. And I'm like, girly, can you not see that I'm busy? But I'm trying to be nice, and she's just asking me questions. And finally she's like, I love your necklace. Where did you get it? And I was like, oh, actually, like a guy I'm seeing got it for me. And she goes, Jim? And when I tell you my heart dropped, I've never felt my heart physically drop like that in my life. And she sees the look on my face and she immediately bursts out into tears. So I know what's going on. And I want to burst out into tears, obviously, but I'm like, keep it together, because I see that there is a wedding ring on her finger. And I'm like, he did not make vows to you. Like, you cannot cry right now. You're not the one that should be crying. So I'm sitting there like trying to keep it together. So this is the story I get. Obviously, that is his wife. He lives in a house with her. That is why that condo apartment thing looked so much like it wasn't lived in. It wasn't. He used that as his office. She said that in the past he cheated on her before as he traveled, but they went to couples counseling and it had been way better in recent years. But lately she started getting a weird feeling again. And she said she really knew something was off when her jewelry started going missing. And the minute she said this, I'm like, oh no, Jim, you didn't do this. She said that the jewelry that went missing was the jewelry that she didn't wear very often, but like a woman can tell when her jewelry starts going missing. And when she asked him about it, he was like, oh, I noticed that the jewelry you don't wear as often was getting tarnished, so I brought it to get cleaned at the jeweler. And I didn't want to tell you, but they lost it. I mean, I guess that's as good as a lie as you can come up with. Like, I don't know what he was supposed to do there. So she said that earlier that week, the feeling just got so overwhelming that something was up, that when he was in the shower, she went through his phone. And she said it was so clean. Like, there was nothing there, no incriminating text, nothing. Like, this man did a good job covering his tracks. Except the one thing that she noticed is that he had the Instagram app downloaded. So she clicks on the app and sees that the account he has is like a fake account. It's like one of those like lurker accounts. It's not like an account for him. And it doesn't follow anybody. It doesn't have any followers, no posts. But she went into the search and saw that my account was the most recent search on his Instagram. And on my most recent post, she saw that I was wearing her missing necklace. When she told me that, I felt absolutely sick to my stomach. Apparently, after he got out of the shower, she confronted him and he denied. And she just said that she'd been watching my like Instagram stories the last few days and was like, I'm so sorry. I just saw you were here and I got in my car and I came and I just needed to talk to you. And I was like, girl, do not apologize, because I mean, I feel like I would have done the same thing. You got to get answers. And she was so nice. She knew that I had no idea, and I felt horrible. And she was just the sweetest ever. She was like, honestly, keep all the jewelry. I don't wear it. And I don't want it anymore. And I was like, I don't want it. I don't want it. So I did give all the jewelry back because I did not want jewelry under those circumstances at all. I was like, if she wants to sell it, if she wants to do it, but they're hers. I don't want them. I actually had dinner plans at the gym the next day, and she told me that she wanted to confront him by being the one at the reservation. So when he showed up, it was her at the table instead of me. So the only communication I had with him after this event was texting him 15 minutes before the reservation that I was there, that I immediately blocked his number, and haven't talked to him since. I have no idea what happened. I saw her later that day because I returned the jewelry, but after that, never spoke to either of them again. So no idea how they're doing now. The following week, I did get a bouquet of flowers from Jim that said, the card said something like, I'm so sorry, please let me explain. I don't know, I trashed them. I was like, this is absolutely insane that you're sending these right now. The card was also like, it's not what it looks like. I think it's exactly what it looks like. I learned from this that when you're seeing somebody, even if there's really no red flags, you need to do a lot more background research into them than I ever thought that I would need to do. Now, before I go out with anybody, I am so diligent on making sure they're not married before I go on dates with anybody, because it's just terrible. It's a terrible experience for everyone involved, and being in that situation is horrible. Don't let this situation happen to you before you start being diligent about who you're going on dates with. Start so that it doesn't happen in the first place, because it's awful. And to Jim, I hope that you have the day you deserve.
What I thought was crazy about this video, no offense to her, is that she said there were no red flags, when to me, as a 36-year-old woman, there were immediate red flags. For the most part, it is not normal for people to have no social media. I understand there are some people who just hate it, there are some people who can't have it for their jobs, but as a whole, it's always a red flag to me when somebody doesn't have any kind of presence, especially when you have no other relation to them, no other way of background checking them, no other way of seeing anything else about their lives. I just don't really think I would personally get into a relationship with that being the case in the first place. Secondarily, the fact that you don't see him very much and he's so busy and he just can't happen to be around very often, like, that's a red flag. I once dated a man in a whole other city and I saw him no less than every other 2 or 3 days because he flew to me or he flew me to him. Men who are serious about you will see you. Men who are sketchy and have all these gaps where they can't see you are typically married. And the lavish gifts, getting this kind of like big jewelry right out the gate, that would make me very suspicious. And I think the problem here is that a lot of women are looking to date their husband, and they don't understand that that is a progress. Where my husband and I are at now is not where we were at like 3-4 months of dating. As I said, it was green flags. A lot of things were going great. It was moving forward very quickly. But he was not nearly as protective of me as he is now. He was not nearly as aware of my emotions as he is now. He did not buy me nearly as lavish of gifts as he does now, because the commitment is bigger. His investment in me is bigger. These kinds of things have to grow over time. When someone is immediately doing these kinds of things up front, it's typically because they are love bombing you. And again, I'm by no means saying that things cannot move forward more rapidly, and if things are going really well, that you shouldn't keep taking the next step. It can work out. My husband and I looked at rings after a month of dating. Now, we did wait until we had been dating for 2 years to actually get married, but like, I get it. And I don't think that that's always necessarily a bad thing. So many times women are told, like, if it's moving too fast, it's bad. If you hook up with them too fast, it's never going to turn into anything. And I haven't seen that be the case for me or anybody else around me, honestly. In fact, most of the time, what I've seen is when people know, they know, and things move pretty consistently forward.
Okay, so I met this guy on Hinge. We talked for a little bit, messaged around, figured out we lived only 3 blocks away from each other. So the next day, we go for a hike. Hindsight, maybe not the best idea to go for a hike with nobody around for our first date, but you know, whatever. We have a really nice time. We totally hit it off. He's really sweet with my dog, and we just liked hanging out. So the next day he comes over, listens to some Grateful Dead records, drinks some wine with me. We have a really nice time, and we start talking about what we're doing this weekend or, you know, anything like that. I had a road trip planned. I was going to go drive 700 miles to meet my best friend alone in the car with my dog. He goes, oh, I know exactly where you're going. I have all these recommendations for spots. Let me like write them down for you. And I was like, do you want to just come? We've known each other 3 days and we're about to go embark on a 1,400-mile journey together. But you know what we did? At this point, we haven't even kissed and he's going to go meet my best friend. So we make the plan to go on the road trip together, go grocery shopping together, get in the car, and we start driving. He starts driving. He is at this point completely taken over driving everywhere we go. 4 days in. So we go on this road trip. He meets my best friend. My best friend loves him. We're driving back and he's like, I think I'm committed to this. Let's get to know each other. I'm on the floor. You want to continue to get to know me monogamously. You're not dating anybody else and you're telling anybody else that you would maybe date, that you're getting to know someone monogamously? We spend the next few weeks just getting to know each other, totally falling in love. It was a great time. All of a sudden he's like, hey, I got some work up in the mountains again. Do you want to come with me? And he's not talking a little weekend trip to go see his best friend. He's talking like move there for a few months. For the first time ever in my life, I'm like, okay, sure. While we're gone, both of our leases are about to be up. So after 4 months of dating, I'm on the phone with my mom and I'm like, I gotta move home. I'm talking to him and I'm like, what's your plan, man? I'm gonna be moving to Long Beach. He's like, my lease is up too. Should I go home to New York? I'm like, no, do you want to move in with me and my mom? They had never met at this point. And he says yes. And she says yes. If this isn't already insane enough, these whole 4 months I've been like, if you don't want to have kids, bye-bye. And he keeps being like, give me some time. I don't know, wait. So here I am, a crazy lady, coming into his life being like, hey, let's move in together. You'll live with my mom and we're going to plan on having kids within 4 months of knowing each other. Anyway, it works out. 6 months go by, my mom gets diagnosed with a degenerative muscle disease. I look at him and I go, hey, she's going to live with me forever now. This is your opportunity to run. Looks me dead in the face and goes, why would I do that? God, I love him. A year later, we're trying for a baby. Get pregnant 6 months after that, married 6 months after that, and now he's a stay-at-home daddy to our 1-year-old baby girl. We spend most of our time in Mexico, just enjoying our weird little family that we put together very quickly. If something like this didn't work out for you, I'm sorry, but don't be hating on my relationship that actually works out really, really well for us.
I love this for her. When you first start watching this video, you think it's going to go very badly, and it does. The opposite. For some people, it just works. They just know their timelines fall in place, everything adds up. Why not? And as you can tell, she was encountering green flag after green flag after green flag with that man. He was emotionally available. He was consistent. He wanted to see her. He was making an effort to ensure they could be together, even when he was going to have to be gone for a long time. They both seemed like they're very adventurous people, had similar values. He was willing to move around for her. And then ultimately, he was willing to help take care of her mom. He was willing to opt into having kids with her. These are green flags. He was making serious progress consistently. It was constantly a green flag. And in that case, I see no reason to pump the brakes. Ultimately, I think both genders, but especially women, should have a checklist of green flags that you're looking for, and you should try to slow your emotions down. I understand when you meet somebody, especially when you're somebody who, like me, doesn't encounter a ton of people that you really connect with or are interested in, you can get very excited and be off to the races quite quickly. But really, you need to learn to self-regulate, control your emotions, and make sure that the checklist is there before you let your feelings run away with you. Because again, I hate to see women end up in bad relationships. I hate to see them get hurt. I hate to see them waste their time. But what I hate to see even more is women who get stuck with kids and married to deadbeats.
One of the things I really try to process now as a middle-aged man is the full extent to which I really thought that I was the main character. Well, let's give you an example. Early in our marriage, my partner and I say we'd be going on a trip. My partner, at that point in time, would be doing the laundry, vacuuming the house, making sure the dishes were done. And I would literally think like, well, yeah, but you don't have to do that. Like that's you wanting to do that. It's not what I want to do. She would get everything ready, and eventually I would say, oh, now it's time to get ready. And I would go, and this is not a joke. This literally happened on more than one occasion. I would get like a backpack or a suitcase or something, and I would get my own clothes. And then I would get like 2 or 3 books that I wanted to read. And I would literally bring highlighters because I'm a nerd. And I think, I'm ready. I'm ready to go on the trip. Looking back, like, what? How could I possibly think that was okay? And the thing is, when we had kids, it didn't stop, right? My partner would do all the work to get all of them ready, and make sure they were bathed, snacks packed, and I would get myself ready. I think, oh, I saw my own father do this quite a bit, where he would take care of his own needs. So I know I didn't learn it from nowhere, but I also had to unlearn it because it never was okay. I thought that my role was to do all these things outside of the home, and that the home was, woman's domain. I saw that modeled and even taught as the way it should be, but oh my gosh, is that not partnership? And that sucks. So if you are a person, especially if you're a man and you think that division of labor is okay, like you shouldn't be married. Like, you shouldn't be in a relationship. And I shouldn't have been at that point in time. And that would have made me so very mad. Because I was like, what more do you want from me? Turns out, quite a lot.
We love a self-reflective king, and I like that he's coming on the internet and being so open and honest about his experiences and growth. I hope it helps other men, because I think there are a lot of men in this category. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, every man seems to think that they're the main character, and they stay in that energy, and they are totally fine to let their partners bend over backwards, trying to make their lives and the kids' lives go smoothly, and they don't wake up to how wrong that is. Green flags women need to look for. Is he a caretaker? Is he a provider? Or is he an actual child?
All right, I looked around like you said, and I don't think anything needs to be done. Okay, if you want me to fold the clothes, then you need to tell me to fold the clothes. I'm not a mind reader. Okay. Write me a list of things that need to get done, and I'll get them done. Okay? Otherwise, I'm just going to be playing guessing games. What? Oh. What? Folding clothes.
It's just a skit. It's just a skit. It's just a skit. For those of you on audio only, the video is a skit on TikTok of a man cosplaying a man-child husband, pretending like he doesn't know how to fold clothes or wipe a table. And I thank God have not had this in my life, but I see story after story after story on TikTok of women talking about their husbands who behave like this, and I cannot imagine it. Like, you should be a full partner, an actual equal. A woman should not have to tell you how to keep a household clean, how to do your laundry, how to take care of your own kids. This isn't okay. And apparently it is rampant among the male population.
There's a strange assumption that women, and mothers in particular, spend their time doing things that they love, right? A man will say, my wife loves baking. She makes muffins for the kids every single week. And then you'll ask that woman, why are you always baking muffins? And she says, oh, actually, it's just because my mornings are hectic. Muffins are easy. I know the kids are going to eat them. They're not super messy, so not a big amount of cleanup. And so I make muffins because it makes my life easier. Not because I like baking. I actually hate baking, but also I can sneak veggies into the muffins, and it's just a win-win for everyone. So I bake muffins every single week. And to him, it looks like she likes baking. But for her, she's doing it because she is the one responsible for making sure the kids are fed, on time for the bus, getting vegetables, right? The mental load associated with raising children and making sure they're cared for is very heavy. And so she is doing a task associated with that to make her life easier, to make their lives easier, right? But he sees it as something she enjoys. And this is so often misconstrued, right? They'll say, my wife loves planning kids' birthday parties. She really makes them magical for the kids and she goes all out. Does she like it, or does she really want them to have a magical childhood? They don't have to be tied to one another. You can do something for the benefit of your children or your partner or your home without actually enjoying that task. And so often I think men get confused because oftentimes they're not doing things they don't want to do. I had a woman in my DMs telling me about how she's constantly the one planning childcare, especially when they have childcare gaps, like a week off from school for some reason, and how her partner will help with the childcare, but she's the one planning it. And recently she said to her partner, hey, this is getting too much to me. I'm going to have you own this thing. And once he started doing it, he recognized, like, wow, this is a lot of work. And he said to her, I'll do this, and I can see how much work it's been, but I don't really want to do this. Like, this isn't fun. And he was outright saying, like, this isn't fun, so, like, I'm not enjoying doing this, but I will if I have to. And so often Men think we just like doing these things. Like, oh yeah, women love planning the schedule. Like, they love planners and calendars. Like, do we? Or do we use them as tools to make our lives more efficient because we've been tasked with making sure that our kids are where they need to be on time, that our work schedule is aligned with what our kids need, that we're meeting your needs? Like, do we love schedules and planners and calendars, or do we need them to make our lives run more smoothly? Okay? So next time you say something like, oh, my wife loves to bake, or she loves to plan a party, maybe ask her. She might. A lot of women love to bake. A lot of men like to bake. She might like that. Or she might say to you, no, actually, I hate baking, but I'd rather bake and make muffins than deal with my kids screaming at me in the morning for me to like make scrambled eggs faster. That could be the reality.
I think her sentiment is spot on for what I've seen. Where so often when men get confronted with not pulling their weight in a relationship or a household or with raising kids, they'll be like, well, I don't care about all that. She does. Like, I don't care that gets done. You are not the main character. You signed up to be in a partnership. You signed up to be an equal partner in raising kids. And so things need to get done in order for you to have a nice life. The house needs to be clean. The laundry needs to get done. Food needs to be cooked. And these things have to be done over and over and over. They're monotonous. They're not fun. Nobody wants to do them. The minute anybody gets any money, what do? They hire house cleaners and chefs and drivers because these are awful tasks that nobody likes to do. Your wife does not like doing them. Your girlfriend does not like doing them. And yet the number of men who feel completely justified in kicking back and not contributing these ways is startling. Again, there are green flags you should be looking for in your dating relationship to avoid ending up in these kinds of marriages. Now, fortunately, I had the ability to gauge this better than other people would because my husband has 2 kids. And I told him early on, I'm pretty sure on the first date, just so you know, I do not want to have kids, and I do not want to be a replacement mom to the kids. I have 2 companies. I work. I will not be cooking and cleaning and running around. You need to know that up front, because if you're looking for somebody to fill that role, it ain't going to be me. And he was like, no. Like, I fought for 50-50 custody. I actually want my kids. I enjoy taking care of them. And I watched that happen over the 2 years that we dated. I never have to lift a finger. I love my stepdaughters. I love playing with them. I'm a mentor to them. And absolutely, I do pitch in as needed now that we're married. But the vast majority of the time, he would not dream of asking me to do his job. Now, a lot of men don't already have kids. If you're not open to dating somebody who has kids, that's fine. I don't even necessarily advise it for most people because it is a big adjustment. But if you are dating somebody before kids are present, you can still be looking for whether or not they have the kinds of green flags that would make them that kind of partner. You should be looking to see how they take care of their own space. You should be looking to see if they volunteer to take things off your hand, to participate in tasks that you have to do. You should be looking to see how they take care of others around them. Like, my brother is a great example. He's so sweet. He constantly is helping other people around him, whether it be moving or installing a microwave. He is a giver. Those are traits you can evaluate and look for in somebody before you get married and end up with a man-child. Ultimately, a green flag man will be upfront and consistent with his intentions. He will make you feel secure. And I want to pause here because I do think, and this is something I want to talk about a lot more because it's something I've struggled with, barring attachment disorders, right? Like, I had an anxious attachment disorder that was a major problem for me in relationships for a long time that I had to deal with before I could be a healthy partner. And like I have said, I think there is an avoidant attachment epidemic among men. You cannot make people who are in the throes of those disorders feel secure. And if you notice that the person that you're having has one, they need to deal with that, or you need to walk away because it is a red flag. But for people who are securely attached, you should not be with somebody who's making you feel insecure. Green flag men will treat you with respect, and they will treat others with respect, especially women. They will be kind and generous. They will have humility and not lead with their ego. You need to avoid men with a big ego like the plague. You can just see them walk into a room. Avoid. A green flag man will be a hard worker with goals that he is consistently moving towards. He does not have to have arrived. I think that's a huge flaw in people's mentality for dating. The person that you're with is not who they're going to ultimately be. You don't need somebody to be at the pinnacle of their career before they're ready to be married. But they need to have the signs of somebody who's going to get to the pinnacles in their career. And he will work to make sure you're taken care of. And this is much bigger than just finances, okay? It's much bigger. He will make sure that you are safe. He will make sure that you have the things that you need. He will make sure that your emotions are tended to. He will speak highly about you and to you. He will actively work to bring you into his life and to enmesh himself in yours. He will communicate like an adult. This is so big. Communication is everything. in relationships is he is not able to communicate like an adult, please leave. And he will not only communicate like an adult, he'll contribute like an adult. You won't have to tell him how to be a man. He'll have grown hobbies and interests. He will do more than sit around and play video games or check out for the weekend with his buddies. And overall, he will have a healthy and positive outlook on women in general. I've seen so many women who are with men who hate women, and it like makes them feel good, I think. They're like, well, he hates a lot of women. He thinks they're really stupid, but he thinks I'm so smart. Sweetie, you're not the exception. He thinks you're the dumbest of all. He thinks that he's got you wrapped around his finger. He hates women and you're falling for it. This is the kind of men that there actually is a true shortage of, not the red pill 666 myth. I really do not think that is what the vast majority of women are looking for. And if they are, then they are red flags, guys. Stop going for those kinds of women, okay? Wise up. If you are not getting these things in your relationship with a man, I beg of you to leave, because I am sick and tired of seeing women, particularly women who really want to be married and have kids, have their youth wasted by these deadbeats. I think it is disgusting. I think it is prevalent, and we need to talk about it more. Recently, a trend took off on TikTok that was encouraging women to share their stack, meaning their engagement ring or their wedding bands. And so all of the women were posting their rings, and it was a fun little activity, and all the rings were beautiful. But of course, the trend hit one particular group of women pretty hard, which was women who were stuck in long-term, dead-end relationships. For those of you listening on audio, this is a woman who is crying on TikTok. She appears to be in her mid-20s. And the caption on it says, watching this trend as a long-term girlfriend. And in her caption, she said, they're literally so cute, but I want to participate. And I went to her comment section because I was curious to see what kind of feedback she'd get. And it was probably the most heartbreaking comment section I've seen in a while. I'm going to read you a few of them. Long-term girlfriend of 14 years, no marriage, kids, we don't live together. I started therapy a month ago and maybe realizing I deserve better after 14 years. Yes, you do. Another one said, long-term girlfriend, 11 years in February. I'm now growing really resentful. Girlfriend, you should have been resentful after 2 years. What is going on? Another one said, coming from a man, we know right away within the first year, we know. I think this is true. Like I said, if you are in your late 20s, early 30s, I think not just men, I think men and women know. And if you don't know, after a year and a half, 2 years, that's your answer. Leave. Another comment said, long-term girlfriend, spent 21 years with him. We had a son 18 years ago. Last October, he passed away. After his passing, a woman came up to me to let me know she was dating him. It broke me. That's disgusting. Another one said, broke up with my boyfriend after 7 years because he said he still wasn't sure. Like what? Long-term girlfriend for 8 years and only got engaged after I got pregnant. Never got married. Relationship ended right after my daughter was born. Met my current partner, got married 3 years in. Like this just goes on and on. I was a long-term girlfriend of my ex, 8.5 years. I didn't know how unhappy I was until we broke up. A guy said, if he hasn't proposed in 3 years, move on, ladies. Take it from a guy. We move when we know what we want. Yes, they do. Two more. Another woman said, I let a man waste my entire 20s while I waited for the ring that never came. Getting out hurt really bad, but it was the right thing to do. He never loved me like I loved him. Now almost 40 and happily married. And lastly, one said, 7 years. I left 4 weeks ago tomorrow. No regrets. My life has greatly improved since. These men are criminals who won't do time, in the words of Taylor Swift. Nobody does this to you who cares about you. You have to hate somebody to do this to them, to take away a woman's youth, to waste her best years, to take away her prospects of actually meeting somebody who does want to marry her, who does want to have kids with her. You're a psychopath and a creep and disgusting. And I'm just so tired of women letting men get away with this. Like, they're not going to stop themselves. It benefits them. They get tons of benefits out of being in a relationship. We've seen this study after study after study, no matter what the red pill says. Men benefit more than women. So they have every reason to string you along and to continue getting sex from you, company from you, an emotional support system from you. And the longer you stay, the longer they know they don't have to propose. And not only does that waste your time and hurt your prospects of actually getting what you want, because women have a shorter time frame in which to get these things, it also does serious emotional damage that's very hard to come back from. So I hope you found this list of green flags helpful. I hope you put it into practice, and I hope none of you get stuck with red flag man children who hate women. If you like this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Also, don't forget to check out others in my series Histrionics here, and you can watch the Base Politics podcast every Friday here.